Once upon a time, there was a little girl. No, that isn't right. You see, it wasn't just any time, and this wasn't just any little girl. This story is about Emmeline, and it all happened a long time ago in a town that doesn't exist. At least, not anymore. Emmeline was 3, the only child of a curator and a soprano. She had everything a child could want, but there was one problem. Emmeline had been forgotten by absolutely everyone. Mummy and Daddy were always preoccupied with the business of the day. The servants complained that she was underfoot. Even the postman, who brought letters that often made Daddy frown, never brought any letters for little Emmeline. There were no hugs, no bedtime stories, only a growing mountain of cold, lifeless toys who could not scare away closet monsters or admire her drawings, or more importantly, love her back. Emmeline tried her best to be a good little girl. Then she tried very hard to be a not-so-good little girl. Either way, no one was paying attention. There was nothing she could do. One night, Emmeline peeked out of her bedroom window and saw a beautiful star. It twinkled and glowed so brilliantly that Emmeline wondered if it was even a star at all, and not an angel who was up past his bedtime. She remembered a rhyme about such stars and how they could grant wishes, and if anybody had a wish, it was Emmeline. Emmeline closed her eyes and wished with all her might. She wished for a friend who could play with her and help her reach tall things, and protect her from the creatures in the shadows and never, ever, ever leave. Stars don't grant wishes for everyone, mind you, but few children have ever wished for anything so dearly as little Emmeline. "Please," she begged, "please." And at the exact stroke of midnight, or perhaps a few seconds before, depending upon the clock, Emmeline's wish came true. Oh, he was a delightful friend. They drew pretty pictures together and made up stories. They even had tea parties and built pillow forts. Emmeline named him Mr. Creasle, because it sounded right, and he was her special secret. Mr. Creasle was great fun for a while, but after a time it seemed there was something missing. He was certainly the best friend she'd ever had, but only because she'd wanted him to be. He did everything she asked, but nothing more. He couldn't even love her on his own. This thought made Emmeline very sad. Then came the sound of cheering from the parlour, and soon after, the news. "Oh, isn't it wonderful, Emmeline?" said one of the maids, who never usually said anything to her. "Your mother is going to have a baby. You'll have a baby sister one day. Won't that be nice?" With that, the maid was gone as quickly as she'd come. Emmeline turned to Mr. Creasle, who, after considering the proper response, chose to frown. No, this was not wonderful. Not at all. This was the final straw, and Emmeline would not stand for it. With her fists clenched at her sides, and her face scarlet with rage, she opened her mouth and screamed. How dare they replace her with a new child? How dare they love another little girl? Emmeline screamed and screamed and couldn't stop screaming, and as she screamed, Mr. Creasle absorbed her wrath and began to grow. The more Emmeline screamed, the bigger and uglier he became, until he outgrew the entire house. With a terrifying roar, Mr. Creasle carried out the revenge Emmeline wanted more than ever. Crack! Went the rest of the house, and everyone inside it. Crash! Went the neighbourhood, whose children never asked to play with Emmeline. On Mr. Creasle stormed, tearing to pieces everyone and everything who'd ever failed his creator. The ice cream truck that never stopped for her, the reverend who chuckled at her prayers, even the postman, all met a swift and terrible demise. Just as Mr. Creasle was running out of things to crush and smash, Emmeline at last stopped screaming. Exhausted and heartbroken, she sat upon what was left of her bedroom floor and cried. Oh, why hadn't anyone loved her? Why did Mummy and Daddy want a new daughter when Emmeline would have done anything, for a simple hug, a kiss on the forehead, even a good scolding? But everyone was gone. Who would love her now? Lighting up the night sky was the very star upon which he'd wished not so very long ago. With a heavy heart, Emmeline looked upon it and made one more request. She closed her eyes and wished with all her might. And at the exact stroke of midnight, or perhaps a few seconds before, Emmeline's wish came true. Like a ghostly light, she began to fade until there was nothing left. Neither she nor Mr. Creasle were ever seen again. Sometimes, on a dark night, when the stars are bright, if you're very still and very quiet, you can almost hear a tiny voice. Please, please, whispers the wind, forever echoing the one wish of a little girl who was forgotten by absolutely everyone.